Preseason is over. Cut down day is Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's get into our 53-man roster projection for your Cincinnati Bengals. Hi again, everyone, and welcome in to Cincinnati Bengals Talk. I'm James Rapien of allbengals.com. Thank you so much for tuning in to this video, watching, subscribing, ringing the bell. Let's dive on into it because we got 53 guys to go through. Let's start with the quarterbacks. Joe Burrow, breaking news, going to make the Bengals roster. Wow, crazy. That's why you come here to Cincinnati Bengals Talk, right? The other guy, look, it's going to be Brandon Allen, and that's my prediction. I know there's been some Jake Browning supporters. I get it. He looked really good in the preseason, rolled out, moved well, played well. Understand it, get it. I still think Brandon Allen's ahead of Jake Browning, and I think that the Bengals will try to sneak him on their practice squad. We're just going to go offense, defense, position by position. So there's the quarterbacks. That was the easiest one. Running backs, I think the Bengals keep 3. And to me, it's Joe Mixon, Chris Evans, Samaje Perine. Trevion Williams played well. Jaquez Patrick played well. I think both of the guys could be practice squad candidates for the Bengals. Tight ends, this one's interesting because you're talking about a couple of injuries. So obviously Hayden Hurst is making the team. Drew Sample was a lock to make the team. He's coming back from that MCL injury. I think he's going to be good to go week 1, so I think he'll make that initial 53-man roster. And that's me speculating, but he is running really hard, and I'm sure he's trying to cut and do things on that MCL, so wouldn't be shocked if we see him out there week 1 or shortly after that. But the third tight end spot, quite interesting. Thad Moss, to me, has been called for a few penalties that really weren't penalties, and it's kind of bad luck, and it is what it is. But he did have that drop as well on Saturday night. And I think Mitch Wilcox is just more reliable to them. Now, Wilcox, dealing with a foot/ankle injury, and he's done some pregame work, some rehab field work, but is he close? Is he a guy that they say, all right, we're going to get you on the 53 and then move you to injured reserve? Because if so, then Thad Moss has a chance to come out of here at least week 1 with that third tight end job. So keep an eye on that. But it's down to those 4. I'll project Mitch Wilcox for the tight ends. Offensive line room. To me, there isn't going to really be any surprises here. I have Jonah Williams, Cordell, Volson, Ted Karras, Alex Capella, Collins. Makes sense. Those are the starters. Plus Jackson Carman, Isaiah Prince, Deontay Smith, Akeem Adeniji, Trey Hill. There's no real surprises. They want to keep these guys. They'll keep 10. They'll keep some depth. I also think that they'll try to stash a guy like Desmond Noel on the practice squad, a rookie who does look pretty good. I think Devin Cochran as well. So Noel, an interior lineman. Cochran is a guy that can play both tackle spots and has 76 for those who are wondering. Desmond Noel, number 60. So I have the Bengals keeping 10 offensive linemen. As far as wide receivers go, in this one, I saved this one on offense for last because I knew there was going to be some pushback. So I have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, the big 3. Goes without saying. Stanley Morgan Jr., Mike Thomas. Oh, man, he gets some hate. I can't wait to see your comments about Mike Thomas. Are you kidding me? Mike Thomas making the team? Yeah, he's making the team. And Trent Taylor. I think he clearly is the best punt returner on this team. Showed enough on offense. I think that he's going to make the team. Those are the 6. Those are the 6 I have. I don't have Kwamie Lassiter II on my final 53-man roster. I don't have Kendric Pryor on my final 53-man roster. That doesn't mean that they won't try to keep him. That doesn't mean that, and I know there's going to be some pushback on this. This might be the most controversial opinion I have of this 53-man roster among the fan base right now. I think they keep 6. They say we like Pryor, we like Lassiter, we don't necessarily love them. Let's try to stash them on the 53-man roster. We'll see if they make it. Those are the 2 guys I think they try to sneak onto the practice squad. Let's go to defense. We have 24 offensive players. So that means we're going to have a couple extra on defense on the 53-man roster. We'll start with safety. This is one of those extras. I think the Bengals keep 5 safeties because obviously you're keeping Dax Hill and Jesse Bates and Von Bell. You just drafted Tyson Anderson. But let's just chime on in with the Mike Thomas. What's better than 1 Mike Thomas? 2. I think Michael Thomas makes the roster as well. Steady veteran presence, can play special teams, could certainly come in and play on defense when needed. I think they keep 5 safeties right now because what you do, you keep them, and then it gives you the ability to use Dax Hill all over in a game if there is an injury, if something like that. Not that you wouldn't put him at safety still, but maybe you do. You still move them all over, and then you put someone else in that full-time safety role. I think they're going to keep 5. They're not cutting Tyson Anderson. I think Michael Thomas is a big part of things, and obviously, much like the wide receiver room, the big 3 safeties, Bates, Bell, Hill, all making the team. Cornerback, I have 6 making the team, and this is kind of dependent on Cam Taylor-Britt, which I'll explain in a second, but Chidobe Awuzie, Eli Apple, Cam Taylor-Britt, Mike Hilton, Trey Flowers, Jalen Davis. I think those are your 6. Cam Taylor-Britt just had core muscle surgery a few weeks ago. Will he be good to go week 1? If the Bengals don't project him ready to go week 1, he'll make that 53. Then they'll put him on some type of list potentially and keep, I would say they would cut initially Allen George and then bring him back. So there's a chance that Allen George is on that 53-man roster, is on the roster week 1. I don't think he'll make the initial cut because they'll stash Cam Taylor-Britt on one of these injured lists if necessary. Linebacker, I think there's 5 guys. I think it's pretty obvious, too. Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, Akeem Davis-Gaither, Marcus Bailey, all guys that were locks, essentially, going into camp. And then Clay Johnston. I think Clay Johnston has played well, made the most of his reps. Joe Bachie's still out right now, coming back from an ACL. So guess what? Johnston, 20 tackles against the Giants. I think they like his motor. They like what he's done. I think he's going to make this team. Defensive line. And I don't think this is controversial. I don't have Tyler Shelvin making it. I don't think he showed much. And you got to show something. I know he's a 4th-round pick, but he's that big, and he's not getting any push. That's not good enough in today's league, man. You got to get some push. You got to be semi-disruptive, and he just hasn't been. So I don't have him on my final 53. I have Trey Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard, Joseph Osai, DJ Reader, Cam Sample, Khalid Kareem, which I'm going to talk about in a second, Zachary Carter, BJ Hill, Josh Tupou, Jeff Gunter. All right, so Hendrickson, Hubbard, Osai, Reader, Sample. There's 5. Kareem, Carter, Hill, Tupou, Gunter. 10. Khalid Kareem is dealing with a hamstring. What they could do, put him on the 53 initially. And, for example, Jesse Bates, he's on the exempt list right now, so he's not going to count against the roster. They could activate him afterwards. So put him on the initial 53, Khalid Kareem, before activating Jesse Bates, then take Kareem and put him on an injured list, one of these injury lists, whether it's injury reserve or whatever it is, if that is a significant hamstring injury. If not, I think they know what they're getting with him, and they're going to try to keep 10 defensive linemen. What a story Jeff Gunter is. I think he makes it. Coastal Carolina, 7th-round pick. I think he flashed just enough to make that final 53-man roster. And really what this is competing against a Kendric Pryor, competing against a Kwamie Lassiter. Do you keep 7 receivers or 10 defensive linemen? I kept the extra defensive linemen. And then after that, it's just the specialists. And I say just. We know Evan McPherson's making the team. I think we know that Clark Harris is going to be the long snapper. Who do I have punting for your Cincinnati Bengals this year? Kevin Huber? Drue Chrisman? The Bengals went young last year with Evan McPherson. They're going to go young again with Drue Chrisman. He beats out Kevin Huber, becomes the starting punter. I think they're going to see all of the potential he has, all of the physical talent. He's been a really good holder on field goal attempts, which is such a big part of the job, and he's got a bigger leg. So if you have one of the best special teams coordinators in the NFL, and this young guy has the talent, and you just got to develop it and mold it, I think the time is now. I think Drue Chrisman wins the job. Evan McPherson, Drue Chrisman, Clark Harris beating out Cal Adamitis. That doesn't mean Cal Adamitis can't make the practice squad. And a lot of these guys, I think that some of the familiar faces, you're like, what? They're not making it? I think most of them will be on the practice squad. If Cam Taylor-Britt's on the 53, well, then guess what? Allen George, probably going to make it to the practice squad. We'll see. Now, could there be a trade coming down the pipeline? Could they claim someone else? Could they make a run at something? No doubt about it. And that's something that will keep you up to date throughout this entire camp. So I'll just run it down very, very quickly. I have 2 quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Brandon Allen, Joe Mixon, Chris Evans, Samaje Perine at running back, Hayden Hurst, Drew Sample, Mitch Wilcox at tight end, Jonah Williams, Cordell Volson, Ted Karras, Alex Kappa, Lyle Collins, Jackson Carman, Isaiah Prince, Deontay Smith, Akeem Adeniji, Trey Hill on the offensive line. Receivers, Chase Higgins, Boyd Thomas, Morgan Jr., and Trent Taylor. And then on defense, Jesse Bates, Von Bell, Dax Hill, Michael Thomas, Tyson Anderson, Chidobe Awuzie, Eli Apple, Cam Taylor-Britt, Mike Hilton, Trey Flowers, Jalen Davis at cornerback, linebacker, Wilson, Pratt, Davis Gaither, Bailey, Johnston, making the final 53. And to wrap things up with the defensive linemen, Hendrickson, Hubbard, Osai, Reeder, Sample, Kareem, Carter, who flashed in the preseason, BJ Hill, of course, Josh Tupou, Jeff Gunter, and my 3 specialists, Evan McPherson, Drew Chrisman, Clark Harris. What do you think? Am I right? Did I nail it? You got beef with my roster projection? What made you the most angry? What are you the most pleased with? What would surprise you the most? Comment, like, make sure you subscribe, ring the bell. Tell every Bengals fan you know about Cincinnati Bengals Talk, because the regular season is almost here, and we're bringing you the best Bengals coverage on YouTube. So for Andrew Fox Miller, our channel coordinator, I'm James Rapien, signing off for now right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk.